I'm going to quote Tom Bauer, by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
King Charles didn't want to do anything about it, given what's going on with Andrew. But in order for William to save the monarchy, he has to deal with it. Archie and Lilibet.
He has just dropped a bombshell investigation into Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Prince William just drew a hard line, and it slices straight through everything. Meghan Markle's whole maternity story is now under a harsh spotlight, and it's not looking quiet anymore. While Meghan was busy posting TikTok-style dance clips from a hospital room and pushing them onto Instagram for attention, something way heavier was brewing across the ocean. In a courtroom, no less, a legal storm she likely hoped would stay out of sight just came crashing into public view, and people are starting to notice. We're talking about a wild £157 million inheritance clash, whispers around a surrogate-born aristocratic child, and a strict 400-year-old rule that just sparked a serious question the palace has been sidestepping since 2019. Were the Sussex children actually born of the body? Because if not, the situation gets complicated fast, and more voices are starting to ask. This isn't some small royal hiccup. It's the kind of issue that could shake the whole structure.
Thing is happening right now in the courts, which is incredibly important, and nobody's paying attention to it because this will make history, and not in a good way for Meghan Markle.
If it keeps building like this, and just days ago, one of the biggest legal shocks in British aristocracy dropped, yet barely anyone in Meghan-focused circles really broke it down properly. The Marquis of Bath, Solon Thin, walked straight into Bristol's High Court with his legal team and dropped a claim that turned heads instantly. His second son, 9-year-old Henry, born through surrogacy in West Hollywood back in 2016, might not even qualify as a legal heir to the family fortune. And this isn't small money sitting around. We're talking about a staggering £157 million tied up in old trusts, written with language that hasn't been updated since before 1970. These rules are old, rigid, and not built for modern situations at all. Under those terms, if a child isn't physically born from the mother, the system may not recognize them the same way. That's how strict and outdated it is, and now it's causing serious tension in court. The judge, Mr. Justice Matthews, didn't soften the message either. He made it clear there's real uncertainty about whether Henry even counts as a beneficiary. Think about that for a second. A 9-year-old child, fully biological to his parents, born through a legal and documented process, and still facing questions about his rights. That's where everything starts to feel heavier, and where attention begins shifting fast. Because now, this situation starts hitting uncomfortably close to the royal structure. The line of succession has always followed one strict, traditional rule: born of the body. That phrase has guided the system since the Act of Settlement in 1701, over 300 years of history, with almost no flexibility and no clear exceptions. Every royal heir has followed the same system, witnessed by palace officials, carefully documented, double-checked, and confirmed without question. No shortcuts, no last-minute changes, no confusion. Then Archie arrives, and suddenly, the playbook starts, looking different. And to be clear, this isn't about random online dislike or chasing drama for no reason. It's about patterns that people keep noticing again and again. The same Meghan who sat with Oprah speaking about living authentically is also connected to a team that pushes back hard whenever basic questions come up about timelines. People ask simple things, and suddenly legal warnings start getting mentioned. That doesn't come across as openness. It feels more like tight image control wrapped in a royal spotlight. And this whole pregnancy topic, it's not about throwing out wild claims. It's about clarity. In a system where bloodline plays a major role, the questions are actually very direct. Where were the children born? When exactly did it happen? And who officially verified it? That's all people are asking. Now compare that to William's children. born at St. Mary's Hospital, with details clearly recorded and shared at the time, presented on the hospital steps within hours, fully documented and visible to the public. The entire country could watch it all unfold in real time. That level of transparency wasn't optional. It was part of the royal system. Now, compare that to Meghan's children, and this is exactly where people start raising eyebrows.
She had a lot of health issues and she couldn't have one of her children. So they had to use a surrogate in the United States. Why the United States? Because in the United Kingdom, the children, even though through a surrogate, belong to the
When Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born at Portland Hospital on May 6th, 2019, things didn't follow the usual royal script at all. No hospital step photo call, a tradition followed for decades without exception. No signed notice from attending doctors posted publicly, which had always been standard practice. Those missing pieces didn't go unnoticed. Yes, a birth certificate was released, but for many, it still left questions hanging. Then, Harry later shared in Spare that they left the hospital within 2 hours, straight into a lift, down to an underground car park, into a vehicle, and back to Frogmore Cottage before the palace had even officially confirmed Meghan was in labor. For a family that spent centuries making royal births transparent for constitutional reasons, not just for ceremony, that's not a minor adjustment. That's a complete break from tradition, and people picked up on it fast. And then there's Harry's own description of the moment. It doesn't read like a formal royal record at all. He talks about electric candles, framed photos of Diana, and even an Ayurvedic doctor guiding them to whisper wishes to the baby in the first minute of life. It sounds deeply personal, sure, but also very far removed from the structured, documented process royal watchers are used to seeing. As one person put it, other royals give a clear, official birth announcement. Harry gave something that felt closer to a lifestyle story. Then came Lilibet in June 2021, and instead of questions fading, they doubled. Born at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, with Harry later writing that he personally delivered his daughter, saying, "I slid my hands under the tiny back and neck. I pulled our precious daughter from that world into this." That moment sounds powerful. No one is questioning that. A father wanting to be that involved is completely natural. But here's where things start to get complicated. And it's the part that keeps getting sidestepped. In a system where rules about birth and verification still matter for succession, these details aren't just private family moments. They carry weight far beyond Montecito. And when that reality is brushed aside, it only leads to more questions being asked. Unlike major royal births going all the way back to the early 1700s, neither Archie's nor Lilibet's arrival was independently witnessed or formally verified by palace-appointed officials. And that difference is exactly why the conversation isn't slowing down. Not one independent medical witness, no traditional Privy Council-style confirmation, just Harry's personal account. And when your children are 6th and 7th in line to the British throne, a personal story, no matter how heartfelt, isn't the same as an official constitutional record. That difference matters more than people like to admit. Here's the part that keeps raising eyebrows. If there's nothing to hide, and maybe there isn't, then why hasn't there been one clear, simple confirmation in 6 years? Not legal pushback, not layered statements, not back and forth responses, just one straightforward verification that settles it completely. Why does such a basic question end up getting such a complicated, indirect answer? That's what keeps people talking. Reports from well-placed sources suggest Prince William has taken these circumstances seriously. One insider even shared that he views the situation around both births as unusual. And that's not a word someone in his position throws around casually. His actions seem to reflect that thinking too. There's been a noticeable effort to separate the Sussex name from the monarchy's official structure, adjustments to royal listings, ongoing discussions about how titles are used, especially in commercial spaces. And beyond that, there's a growing sense of frustration being pointed out more and more. People are starting to question how all of this fits into a system built on tradition, structure, and clear rules.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery. If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
And why this situation feels so different. As one comment put it, Meghan, if you dislike the royals so much, stop using the title they gave you. That tension is what keeps standing out to observers. It's not just media chatter, it's the contrast. Stepping back from royal duties while still using royal titles in public-facing projects creates a gap people keep noticing. And that contrast is exactly what keeps the conversation alive and growing. And this is why the Marquess of Bath case suddenly matters so much right now. His situation takes something that once felt theoretical and turns it into a real, active, legal question. He clearly cares about his son, has been open about the surrogacy, and is going through the courts to secure his child's position. That part is direct and visible. But here's the key point. His case shows that under current British inheritance and trust laws, especially older ones, there can still be real uncertainty. This isn't about opinions or online debates. It comes down to how the law is written and how it's applied in very specific situations involving inheritance. Mr. Justice Matthews made it crystal clear. The Marquess has to go to court and formally request that Henry be recognized as a beneficiary. The system doesn't just allow it automatically. Think about that for a second. A father has to stand before a judge and formally ask for his own child to be legally recognized within his family's inheritance structure. That's how strict these rules can be. That's how strict, and honestly, how outdated some of these rules still are under the current system. Now, take that exact situation and scale it all the way up to the monarchy, and everything gets a lot heavier. We're not talking about a private family trust anymore. We're talking about the crown, the act of settlement, the Succession to the Crown Act. These are centuries-old constitutional frameworks that aren't easy to adjust. You don't just update them quietly in a meeting. These laws are part of the foundation of the entire system. So, if a £157 million estate can run into legal uncertainty over a surrogate-born child, what kind of questions could start surfacing around an institution that's over 1,000 years old? That's where the conversation starts getting intense. And this is where things turn uncomfortable. Fast. If, and this needs to be said carefully, if it were ever formally confirmed that surrogacy played a role in either of the Sussex children's births, what would that mean under current rules? Would Parliament have to step in and examine whether their place in the line of succession aligns with existing legal definitions? Because this new case suggests the answer might not be as automatic as many people assume. This isn't just headline noise anymore. It raises a real legal question. And suddenly, comments that were once brushed aside are being looked at again from a completely different angle. Statements like, people need to look at the timeline, are suddenly getting fresh attention. And not because of who originally said them. It's because of what's unfolding in the courts right now. The focus has clearly shifted. This isn't just about opinions or speculation anymore. It's about how existing laws are written, and more importantly, how they're actually applied. People are now zeroing in on phrases like born of the body and asking how consistently that standard is used across different situations. When the same wording can put a child's inheritance into question in one case, it naturally sparks wider curiosity about how that same rule operates elsewhere. That's not rumor. That's people looking closely at legal language, precedent, and how the system functions in real scenarios. At the same time, the lack of detailed public clarification has kept the conversation alive. When questions first started circulating, the responses leaned more toward protecting privacy and managing media coverage, rather than offering clear, detailed verification. That approach makes sense on a personal level, but from the outside, it's left some observers feeling like key questions are still hanging in the air. And when that happens, the speculation doesn't fade, it grows. There's also a noticeable contrast in how different situations are being handled. In the Marquess of Bath's case, everything is unfolding openly in court. Clear process, clear arguments, full visibility for anyone following along. In comparison, the Sussex situation has been handled much more privately, with limited official detail shared publicly. And that difference in approach is exactly what keeps people watching closely. That difference in approach is exactly what people keep pointing out. And it's not fading anytime soon. Prince William didn't create these questions, but he's in a position where clarity matters more than ever. From what can be seen, there's a clear effort to make sure the monarchy's future avoids uncertainty, especially when it comes to issues that carry real constitutional weight. This isn't about drama or headlines. It's about stability and protecting a system that's been in place for generations. At the end of the day, everything keeps coming back to one key point: consistency. How rules are written, how they're applied, and how clearly they're communicated to the public. The Marquess of Bath case proves that even the oldest systems can run into modern challenges. And when that happens, people don't stay quiet. They start asking bigger questions. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your thoughts below.